Today on Carolina Week.
But the courts are not going to allow it.
New guidelines from the Department of Education no longer requiring male and female athletes to be paid the same. Plus, an exclusive interview with the new student body president, Adolfo Alvarez, coming up.
This was kind of seen from a mile away.
And UNC's decision to comply with Trump's executive orders. That means cuts to DEI requirements in the classroom.
From the UNC Hussman School of Journalism and Media, connecting Carolina's campus and community, this is Carolina Week.
Good morning on this beautiful, beautiful morning that we're having today, and welcome to Carolina Week. I'm Akshay Gokul.
And I'm Sarah Jens, and we are coming back to a sunny week after last week's snow day.
That's right. But today we start with a UNC athletic story, changes to Title IX. Male and female athletes may no longer have to be paid equally by the universities under the new Title IX guidelines. The Department of Education is rescinding the Biden administration guidelines, saying that direct payments made to athletes by the schools must be divided equally between male and female athletes. This comes as the NCAA has agreed to allow schools to pay athletes directly as part of an antitrust settlement that is set to receive final approval in April. Acting Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights Craig Traynor said in a statement that Title IX says nothing about how athletic programs should allocate revenue to student athletes. UNC law professor Barbara Osborne says this could impact not just financial gain, but also future opportunities.
We're not providing resources that are direct payments in an equitable way diminishes women's.
Could be legal challenges to this decision.
The Durham Public School District has a new safety plan aimed at helping community members during threats of potential ICE raids. School board member Millicent Rogers told us the safety plan is being kept private to avoid compromising vulnerable families. Rogers tells us the district is assisting parents with transporting their kids safely to school and delivering basic needs like groceries. They are also connecting community members to attorneys and resources to know their rights.
We're just hoping to stay under the radar, and that's not enough, but we're just hoping it'll go away.
Immigration advocates on campus are warning against spreading false information that could cause unnecessary fear and panic. This comes after rumors spread that ICE was on campus. This information was false. Siembra UNC's co-president Jessica Guyton told us the most important thing to do if you spotted ICE is to stay calm and verify.
If you feel safe to go up to the car and try to see where it's from and who's inside the car, then feel free to do so. But if you don't, I would ask faculty or staff or bring somebody else with you. And obviously, like, the hotline is always there.
The hotline for Siembra is 336-543-0353, where you can speak to someone who will walk you through proper verification steps. Now, in other news, new from the North Carolina General Assembly, a bill to raise teacher pay. Republican Representative Aaron Pare filed a bill in the North Carolina House yesterday to raise teacher pay. This bill introduces raises between $9,000 and $12,000, depending on years of experience. The bill would also bring back additional pay for teachers with master's degrees. A 2024 report from the National Education Association ranked North Carolina 41st in the country for teacher pay. The bill is on the House agenda today. We'll be keeping an eye on the bill as it develops.
And good news for Western North Carolina, more funding for Helene recovery is on the way. North Carolina lawmakers in the House passed a bill to send $500 million to Helene recovery efforts. The bill also allocates some funding to infrastructure repairs to things like bridges and private roads, as well as money to assist farms in restoring streams. This funding follows Governor Josh Stein's request earlier this month for more than $1 billion to repair the damage in the area. For now, the bill heads to the Senate. January's inflation report shows inflation is high, meaning prices are up. Catherine Dehart is here in studio to talk about how these numbers will impact your wallet. Catherine?
The Bureau of Labor Statistics released a consumer price report showing inflation is up 3% from where it was last January. Here's where you may have noticed this change. Gas and groceries have been particularly susceptible to inflation, meaning these goods are more expensive. You can see on this chart here from the Bureau of Labor Statistics that food prices are up 2.5% in the past year. On top of that, egg prices are skyrocketing thanks to bird flu outbreaks across the country. Egg prices in January were up roughly 15%. And the price of eating out has also gone up around 3.5% in the past year. Overall, gas prices actually slightly went down in the past year, but in January, gas prices went up nearly 2%, bringing the current average for a gallon of gas to $3.21. I spoke with CNBC's senior personal finance correspondent Sharon Epperson yesterday. She says,
I think people don't realize that inflation, as it goes up, it takes a lot longer to come down. I think people don't understand that the rise that you're seeing in some prices is going to be higher, if not as the height that it is, for some time.
President Trump's tariffs on imported goods from Mexico and Canada that were initially delayed back in January are supposed to hit next week. There's been a lot of confusion on what these tariffs will mean for consumers, so we will be keeping an eye on that going forward, and we'll keep you posted. I'm Catherine Dehart, and that's Making Sense of It All this week.
Thank you, Catherine. The UNC system isn't complying with President Donald Trump's executive orders. With that comes the temporary axing of diversity, equity, and inclusion requirements. Madeline Amati explains how this move will impact students and faculty right here at UNC.
Democrats are pushing back on Trump's order.
It's, in my opinion, catastrophic.
And some Republicans say this has been a policy goal for years.
This was kind of seen from a mile away.
Trump's executive order means DEI requirements must be removed from federal agencies. The university has indicated it will comply. According to the university, the Making Connections U.S. diversity requirement is the only gen ed currently impacted by Trump's order. UNC Chapel Hill senior Sam Bomer, also the UNC Young Democrats communications director, needs one more gen ed requirement to graduate.
Eggs are too expensive. You can barely get eggs because of bird flu, but I don't think that me not having to learn about a trans person or a gay person or a black person is going to change that at all.
Vice President of UNC College Republicans, Preston Hill, says he is not against DEI, but says DEI courses shouldn't be a requirement. In May, the UNC System Board of Governors voted to repeal the DEI policy. They replaced it with a, quote, equality policy.
I think the overall sentiment is that something had to kind of change.
UNC System General Counsel wrote in a memo that over $1 billion are at risk if the system does not comply. The memo also indicates students will not be penalized if they drop a course fulfilling the U.S. diversity requirement. But Chair of the Faculty Council, who spoke to us by phone while traveling, says this change is disruptive.
The chilling effect could be that we don't include topics that might raise red flags, or that we're less likely to engage in discussions about difference and discussions about power imbalance.
In Chapel Hill, Madeline Amati, Carolina Week.
Trump's order also impacts DEI courses required for certain majors. The UNC Faculty Council will meet on Friday. According to the agenda, they will discuss updates to the undergraduate curriculum. We reached out to 16 faculty members via email. Only one agreed to speak to us for this story.
All right, coming up after the break, we go live to the opening of the new library in Carrboro.
But now we have a true library. It's just remarkable.
New developments in the Russia-Ukraine war as it reaches the 3-year mark.
People see each other and they see that they're not alone.
Also, I'll be talking to the student body president-elect Adolfo Alvarez about his plans for the upcoming year. Welcome back to Carolina Week. As we're seeing outside, it is a beautiful, beautiful Wednesday morning. I know I am loving the spike in temperature, especially given last week. We have Sarah join us today to kind of give us the rundown on the weather, especially with these new changes. Sarah?
Taking on a new role today doing the weather, but our weatherman Nick told me all about the drastic change in temperature this week. First, let's see what it's looking like today. So at 12 p.m. we'll be at 66 degrees, at 3 p.m. we'll be at 72 degrees, and at 6 p.m. we'll be at 66 degrees. So overall, a very warm day. It's crazy that it snowed a week ago, and yesterday we hit 74. The warming trend will continue today and throughout the rest of the week, with a few light showers tomorrow to wash away the salt on the roads from the snow. High pressure is making it warm, but there will be a cold front Thursday night. Friday morning could give us some rain, but we heat back up Saturday. Another cold front Saturday night makes us return to winter. Back to you, Akshay.
Thank you, Sarah. Now, if you're heading out to enjoy the great weather, you can now visit the Drakeford Library Complex right here in Carrboro. The town's largest public facility opened its door on Monday. The library is named after Carrboro's first black mayor, and our reporter Aisha Frazier is live at the complex. Aisha?
Good morning, Akshay. Like you said, I'm at that complex right off Greensboro Street, and I've seen people coming and going all morning. I went into the library, I got a library card, and I checked out a book, and it only took me roughly 10 minutes, and it was really simple, a very simple process. If you look over here, you can kind of see that they're still putting some of the finishing touches on the building. If you want to look at the complex itself, right, it was built with sustainability in mind. So if you look at the sidewalk over here, these irrigation systems are meant to help retain water and reduce flooding onto the floors. It also features a green roof, and it's a hub for all ages to gather. There are rooms that give a resource that UNC students can take advantage of if Davis ever runs out of space. The building is named after, like you said, Robert Drakeford, Carrboro's first black mayor, including his contributions to the town's bus system and his advocacy for walker and cyclist safety. City officials say he was committed to public service and he was a Tar Heel. His son told us he hopes that the library can be used to create space for different kinds of people. Leaders say they hope the public takes advantage of its many uses.
Of course, at its heart, there is a library, which this community has wanted so desperately for years. And it's also a cultural center, an education center. We have workforce development through Orange County.
Now, anyone living in the bordering counties or in Orange County itself can come to the Drakeford Library Complex and get a free library card. It's open during the weekdays from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. and on the weekends from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. I'm live in Carrboro. Aisha Frazier for Carolina Week. Akshay?
Thank you, Aisha. I'll be sure to check out the complex soon. Now, in other news, the White House will now determine which news outlets can join the White House press pool, raising concerns about First Amendment violations. A federal judge refused to reverse the White House's decision to block the Associated Press from the White House after the outlet refused to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. The Reporters Committee for Freedom of the Press says this process limits First Amendment freedom. White House Secretary Caroline Leavitt announced the change yesterday at a press conference.
Asking the President of the United States questions in limited spaces such as the Oval Office in Air Force One is a privilege that unfortunately has only been granted to a few. It is not a legal right for all.
President Trump continuing to meet with world leaders about a possible ceasefire for Russia-Ukraine, with one big exception. He has left Ukraine out of those talks. This comes on the third anniversary of Russia launching its full-scale invasion of Ukraine. Here is in part what Trump has said.
Putin, and I've had not such good talks with Ukraine. They don't have any cards, but they play it tough.
Trump claimed Ukraine started the war, but here in North Carolina, Republican Senator Tom Tillis had a different take, saying clearly Vladimir Putin is responsible for this war. Also closer to home, a much different take from hundreds of people gathered for a rally over the weekend at the state capitol to commemorate the anniversary. The president of the Ukraine Association of North Carolina tells us this year felt somber, but still important to remind people that they are not alone.
To think that US is now not our ally, is not a friend, how it was believed before, it's a very bad feeling, especially for Ukrainians here.
Trump will meet with the UK Prime Minister on Thursday. Now here in studio, we have the new student body president, Adolfo Alvarez, with Akshay.
That's right, Sarah. Adolfo Alvarez will be the next student body president of UNC Chapel Hill. We're lucky enough to be joined with him today. Adolfo, thanks for coming in and congrats on your victory.
Thank you for the invite. I appreciate it a lot.
Of course, yes. Let's start off with the first question. What are you focused on from now until April when you begin office?
Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you. I think that's a great question. Well, we're starting to get the ball rolling. April 1st is when we will take office, and student body president Jaliyah Taylor will end her term as student body president. And we are focused on trying to see what restructure we will have in the executive branch to ensure that the promises that we made throughout the campaign trail are met. We actually, last night, the undergraduate Senate passed a bill that will allow us to implement the Department of Basic Needs, which will be a dedicated department to advocate for basic needs like fair housing, food security, clothing, menstrual products in on-campus restrooms, and other campus basic needs that continue to impact academic excellence at Carolina. So we're just trying to get our team going, trying to get appointments done for April 1st so we can start to have a built team and get conversations with administrations going.
Awesome. And I know you recently rolled out a new transition team.
Yes.
As part of this, is this team helping and aiding this effort?
Correct, yeah. So the transition team is helping us doing three main things. Number one, assessing the current state of the executive branch so we can determine where we're at and where we should be by April 1st. Second, pass key legislation to make sure that before day one, we already have the resources that we need to make the changes that I promised I would implement throughout the campaign trail. And number three, also start recruiting the team for the Alvarez administration, so yeah.
Okay. And now you kind of mentioned your campaign previously, and on the campaign you discussed wanting Davis open for 24 hours, reworking on-campus housing, and a more fair stipend for graduate students. What is your plan for implementing these into action?
Yeah, so in the coming weeks, I'm meeting with key university administrators, including the chancellor, the provost, and the dean of students to start getting conversations about how we can work with the administration side, but also with campus organizations that advocate for these needs. So building closer relationships with the Residence Hall Association will be key. Once the president-elect is finally confirmed by the Board of Elections, we'll get that conversation going with the workers' union to determine what the fight for first stipends has looked like and how we can aid their efforts to tell the administration how this is hurting the university at large. So we are starting to get those conversations going, and once we have a cabinet, we will also make sure that we're working on the policy writing and the policy proposal side, because the administration wants to see that thorough research and real fact-based solutions are being proposed so the university can implement them, such as with the meal donation swipe program that the Taylor administration implemented. It was a long process of researching the current state of food insecurity on campus. The Board of Trustees could understand what that looked like for the student body.
All right. Well, we thank you so much for coming here to answer our questions, and we'll be happy to see you in your term as
Thank
president.
you. I'm really excited, and thank you for the invite.
Yes.
Molly, what's been new in Carolina athletics?
Well, Sarah, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I think basketball might just be back. But they're not the only team that are doing great right now. We have 5 Carolina teams in the top 10. We'll be back after the break.
Hi everybody, my name is John. Today we will be doing a presentation. Over here. Thank you. Okay, so you can see here that
Thank you for sticking with us. It's time to talk Tar Heel hoops. We'll go over to Molly Malik for more.
Thanks, Sarah. UNC basketball has been the talk of the town in Chapel Hill, so let's dive right in. The men's basketball team traveled to the Sunshine State on Monday to take on the Florida State Seminoles, looking for a crucial win with only 3 conference matchups remaining. Jalen Withers continued his hot streak early with a dagger 3, but more sharp shooting from FSU's Jameer Watkins kept the contest tight. The Tar Heels pulled away at the end of the first half thanks to high IQ passing like this wraparound dish from Drake Powell to Jalen Washington. Carolina kept the energy high in the second half, maintaining a lead on the back of veteran RJ Davis, who finished with 20 points. His spot-up shooting and strong drives to the basket kept the Seminoles guessing and handed Carolina the 96-85 win. And speaking of Monday night's MVP RJ Davis, he has now moved up to number 3 ACC all-time scorer, trailing closely behind Duke's JJ Redick and UNC big man Tyler Hansbrough. Davis currently has 2,592 points. On Monday, the Diamond Heels face the ECU Pirates, looking for a sweep of the series. To start off, UNC's Hunter Stokely sent one flying over the fence to put the Heels on the board. With Alex Madera's double and Luke Stevenson's single, Carolina scored their 6th and final run of the game in the 6th inning. Hometown star Matty Matias was hot on the mound in his 2.2 innings, allowed only 2 base runners and threw 32 strikes of his 41 pitches. Heels went 6-3 to stay undefeated. From ECU to VCU, the Diamond Heels kept the bats rolling. The first 4 runners of the game came from the Rams in the 3rd, with a double off of Olin Johnson and a single off Ryan Lynch. UNC responded with Luke Stevenson's single, sending Kane Kepley home. Stokely kept the momentum going with a home run, bringing in Madera and Stevenson tied game. In the bottom of the 5th, Rom Kellis had a double, sending Stokely home and giving the Heels their first lead of the game, 5-4. The 7th inning was a big for UNC, with a double from Kepley scoring 2. Walker McDuffie went 3 up, 3 down in the 6th inning and got the Heels out of bases loaded situation. For the final run, Stokely takes it out of the Bosch again. Final score 9-4. Heels still undefeated. And to start the slew of ACC accolades, we have senior Josh Ogunsanya tabbing the ACC Wrestler of the Week honors. The 174-pounder standout performance last week was at Stanford. Ogunsanya entered his 3rd period behind the opponent 9-3, but quickly racked 4 takedowns in the 4th thanks to his 15-13 win. The Heels left Stanford with a big win overall. And on the men's side, Dominic Petramala is the ACC Men's Lacrosse Offensive Player of the Week. The redshirt freshman made 6 goals Saturday, leading the Heels to an upset victory against number 4, Johns Hopkins. Petramala is the number 1 goal scorer in the ACC with 15 goals and is ranked in the top 3 nationwide, averaging 5 goals per game. The Attackman's offensive power has been a key factor for the Heels' 3-0 record, their best start since 2021. And for the 4th time, Jojo Valahovic is the ACC Gymnastics Newcomer of the Week. Let's hope the Tar Heels can keep racking up their accolades as their seasons continues. Tune in to Sports Extra on Friday for more about Carolina athletics.
Welcome back to Carolina Week.
Our final story is out of this world, literally. I mean, look at where we're sitting. A US spacecraft snapped some stunning photos of the Earth and the far side of the moon. The Blue Ghost lunar lander captured an image of the far side of the moon, which is not visible from Earth. The lunar lander is expected to capture images of a total lunar eclipse on March 14th. In the picture, you can see moon craters and boulders. The spacecraft also caught a photo of the moon's south pole. The lunar lander will attempt to make a moon landing this Sunday. We'll see how that goes. Now, I was reading that this is a project aimed to get a man on the moon for the first time in 50 years.
Yes. I think we're approaching the 56-year mark since we saw that iconic picture with Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin landing on the moon. And I'd love to see that again, honestly, selfishly. But look at this picture behind us. I think it has such great detail. I know the team behind it really raved about that and was really happy about that, especially when they're planning their next mission to the moon. And we will be the first to report that when they do that. But I think that's all the time that we have for you today.
Thank you so much for watching Carolina Week. Be sure to tune in to Carolina Ahura tomorrow morning at 8:45 a.m. Have a great week.